Why are you here on Earth at this time? What do your guides want you to know about who you are and how you make a difference? Indeed, what is your soul plan? We're going to talk about that and more with Heather Mays today. On the show, you're listening to Accentuate the Positive on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Public Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM. Stay tuned.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
Welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive. Always great to be with you all today. I see Shirley's already listening. Hello, Shirley. Every week. She's so fantastic. She tunes in every week. Yeah, so as I said in the introduction, why are you here on Earth? How do you know your guides are talking to you? What are the signs? Are you listening? We're going to talk all about that and more with the wonderful Heather Mays. Welcome to the show, Heather. So great to have you on the show. Oh, let me unmute you. There we go.
Oh,
there we go.
Hi, Karen. There we go. Thank you so much for the opportunity to connect with you and your wonderful community. And hi, Shirley. I don't know Shirley, but I do now. So hello. Nice to see you. And yeah, I can't wait to dive into this topic. It's so exciting and so important and relevant right now with the world around us. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Heather and I have already been chatting about the future. Like, do your guides show you the future? She said to me, do your guides? And we were chatting about that. But let me tell you a little bit about Heather. She's got an amazing story, actually. From her earliest memories as a child, Heather Mays was aware of her spiritual team and guides. At the age of 6, she had a profound shared death experience when her 9-year-old sister passed away. Since that moment, Heather has been able to witness the crossing of the veil for souls, whether they are coming in to a physical incarnation or leaving it. She is also aware of consciousness of animals and plants, hearing their voices just as clearly as she did the people around her. As she progressed through later childhood and early childhood, she realized that these experiences weren't necessarily things everyone could or frankly wanted to access. After many years of precognitive and psychic dreams that were occasionally disturbing, I was just sharing with Heather about a disturbing dream or precognition I had about destruction. I don't know if we'll go into it, about a timeline. Things like accidents and plane crashes. Heather asked her guides to turn down the volume and please let me be normal. Once they stepped back, she experienced even more challenges. She was the victim of a robbery, multiple car accidents, a lawsuit with a jury trial, and just some obstacles that led her to understand that asking her guides to step back, she had essentially shut the door on a big part of who she is and why she is here on Earth at this time. It wasn't that without her guidance when she experienced the pitfalls, it wasn't that without their guidance when she experienced the pitfalls, because she was still guided. It was just that she was out of alignment with herself and not following the path she had agreed to follow as a soul. Ain't that the truth? So we're going to talk more about that. Heather has 7 books, which include 5 affirmation journals, Her Radiant Soul, a guide to finding and shining your light, and a children's book, Emily Finds Her Light, and Let It Sink In. And its sink is spelled SYNC. I think that's really cute. A 5-book journaling and workshop affirmations, Shine Radiant Soul, which is a journaling and coloring book companion to Her Radiant Souls. And Heather today is an intuitive counselor, author, artist, psychic, medium, channel, animal communicator, energy healer for pets and people. She's got it all. She's got the whole thing happening. You can find her at heathermays.com. let's go back to the childhood and the shared death experience. I find that really fascinating. Your 9-year-old sister, you were 6, and she passed away. And what did you experience?
Yes. So my sister Wendy had severe cerebral palsy, so required full-time care in a facility. So she wasn't in the home with us, and all I knew as a child was that my parents got a phone call that then took them out of the home that evening. I got shuffled off to a neighbor's house to sleep overnight. And as I was there, I had this connection, which I know now as an adult looking back, telepathic connection with Wendy as she crossed over. And she basically showed me what you would show or explain to a child about a soul leaving a body and going into what we may call the other side, the afterlife, heaven. Everyone classifies it a little differently, but it was this beautiful imagery of colors that do not exist on Earth, and fluorescent doesn't even describe it. It's just such an amplified level of color. And it was Wendy and my parents and myself in the dream, and one parent would jump across, like the colors made these beautiful mountains, and one parent would jump across from one mountain to the next, and then the next parent jumped from one mountain to the next, and then I jumped from the mountain over. And when it was her turn to jump, she made the leap, but then flew and morphed into this beautiful creature with wings and all these colors. And it was this inner knowing that she communicated with me that I'm not here in a physical body anymore, but I'm still present. And it was just this beautiful way to showcase the transition in a way that also let me know not to fear it. So it was this amazing, beautiful gift that served me later in life as I would then experience friends and other loved ones dying, pets as well. And just, I have that keen awareness of what that not just looks like, but what that feels like for a soul as they are transitioning. And it was just the most amazing thing that I could have witnessed. Hard to talk about as a kid because no one else around really has that frame of reference, but it's such a valuable gem that has informed and colored in more ways than one my life and my perspective and the work that I do today with people all around the world, just in talking about the death and dying process and trying to take the fear out of it. I think we have, in the last 150 years in our world, we've really industrialized it in a way that maybe isn't allowing us to tap into the connection with it, the humanity of it even. It gets part and parceled out in large part to facilities and care homes and things like that. And really we don't have the comfort level of talking about it in a way that I think might be healthy and beneficial. So that was my, introduction to woo-woo, as you may say, as a kid. So
introduction to your psychic abilities, let's call it, rather than woo-woo.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I had a friend on the show, she's since passed, Nadi Hana, and every time I said, that's crazy, she said, no, it's not crazy, it's interesting. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, that's interesting. We've got to change our language, I think. But
I'm so sorry, you've interviewed one of my friends and mentors, Jamie Butler, who would say it's not woo-woo, it's true.
I know.
We want to insert her tagline.
It's not, Jamie, love you, Jamie. Yeah. It's not woo-woo, it's true too. Exactly. Change our language about it. Hello, Thirsty. So you had your, you know what I've been watching? I've been rewatching. They made it in 2005, The Ghost Whisperer. I've been watching that on a streaming platform. Yeah. And I'm looking at it with new eyes because I used to watch it years ago when it came out, probably 10 or 15 years ago. And I used to be very critical of it, but I'm less critical of it now. But it does, it's Hollywood, I think that, what's his name? Was
James Van Prague.
Was one of the producers. Yeah, exactly. He was behind the scenes saying, this is what really happens. But it is like scary. It always starts with the haunting and the scary. She's not too scared, the psychic that can see. But and then there's always this resolution. Every show is the same. but she's not somebody that can see the other side like you did. She just sees the earthbound souls who are suffering. So it is all
Right.
about the suffering and not the beauty of dying or being dead. And unlike what we're going to talk about today, you know, all the souls that are communicating with her are in turmoil rather than being guides, you know, like guides.
Right.
And according to
Yeah.
that show, once you've crossed over, you've gone, you know, goodbye, I'll never see you again, which is also not the truth.
No.
Because we can
Can't
still
say that
communicate with
that's
people who have
right.
crossed over.
Yeah.
So in saying
Well,
that, with your sister, what was your sister's name, or is your sister's name?
Wendy. Her name
Wendy.
was Wendy.
Did you, when she passed, did you continue to communicate with her? Did you continue to see her as a child or even now?
I did. And for a period of time, she was on my team of guides as well, which I don't know that I could distinguish as a kid. I just kind of knew there was this group of energy that kind of went with me, like an entourage. They were just there. I didn't know, everybody didn't have it. It just was part of who I was, and I could distinctly kind of differentiate her energy versus others that were there. And so, and as having cerebral palsy, she was nonverbal. And so we kind of had this connection of communicating with her. My whole family did in a pretty unique way anyway. So it was kind of that transition of, oh, that's just this location almost where I connect with her. Now she's here instead of being in a physical body. So yes, I was still able to connect in with her, which honestly, part of the challenge with that was, you know, adults try to explain death to kids and they will do the best that they can, but I was witnessing something completely different. So there was this kind of disconnect in how I was being guided to process death, and then how I was actually experiencing it. So it was hard to merge those two worlds together in some ways for myself. And I didn't have the emotional maturity as a kid to say, no, that's not what really happens. And so I just kind of was like an observer of these two different perspectives, which again, I think served me very well for the work that I do now, because I can see where we have the different perceptions and maybe limitations or fears, like you said. And it's funny you mentioned, I don't think I've seen The Ghost Whisperer, at least not recently, but it used to really tick me off when psychic stuff would get sensationalized like that. I remember being little and like you can hear the soundtrack in some of those shows where it's just they're trying to scare you and you get this horrifying thing. It used to drive me so crazy because that's really not that. Can we stop doing that? Like, come on.
I agree. It used to tick me off too when I watched it years ago.
I was so offended.
Rewatching it now, I'm less critical because I've spoken to so many people who have encountered earthbound spirits and they are confused. You know, they're not haunting, you know, they're not doing the horrible things they're doing on the television show. But they're confused and they do need some help. But it's all horror. You know, we make this conversation about the afterlife or ETs, you know, we wrap it in a horror bow and something to be scared of, all part of the mainstream narrative. But so you also mentioned when you said you had the shared death experience that were your parents there? Like, didn't you say something?
What Wendy was showing me, yes. So it was this presentation of our family unit that in what I believe she was saying was the three of you will go on and I will be separate in this other unique way. So I think it was just like how you would explain that to a child. The three of you will still be here. We were 4, now you're 3. I'm still existing just in a different way. So I think that was part of what she was trying to show me.
And how did losing a child's never fun. How did your parents cope with the loss of their daughter? It must have been a hard time for your family, like lots of sadness and grieving. I mean, how did they cope with it?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. I think as humans, we don't really do death well because it always dredges up other emotions and other tensions and everybody comes at it from their own perspective. But my recollection is that they with me at least, because I was only 6, I don't know what was really occurring in their world.
Yeah.
But with me, they were incredibly open and kept her at the forefront of the conversation so that we could always say, I wonder what Wendy's doing in heaven, or I wonder,
Nice.
is she able to do this that she wasn't able to do before? And so there was this conversation that didn't feel threatening and felt like there was an opportunity and an openness about it, which was really beautiful. What I remember being strange for me was like the kids in class, my peers. None of them had experienced death, or at least not of a peer or a sibling, maybe a grandfather or grandmother or something. And so it was this weird, and being empathic, I just felt like there was this weird issue there. Nobody was trying to do anything badly, but nobody knows what to say when we're adults. So of course they don't know how to talk about it as kids. And I remember, teachers and other adults in the school environment maybe thinking I needed a little extra attention or care or kid gloves, if you will. And that all just felt strained and weird to me, because again, to me, it was like, she's fine, you guys, like no big deal. She's just not in a body. Like I had this kind of just weird understanding of it that I didn't see reflected around me. And so it was navigating other people's emotions that was more challenging for me, I think, than the actual loss, because I never really experienced it as a loss, just change.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic. And of course, this was all part of your soul's plan. If you're coming into the earth to address a psychic ability, which connects you to what we call the afterlife or the other side or other dimensions, and you're also going to be a healer, helping people heal. So you've experienced her illness and then her death. That was all part of the plan, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I said it, like, what a gift. What an amazing gift to witness that. And that level of, for her soul, that level of mastery to come into a family, we all come into bodies that have limitations, right? We say, oh, it's the meat suit, it's heavy, it's the third dimension, but to come into a body with extreme limitation and help everyone around you learn about love and loss and connection, and I mean, absolute master class in it. And so just to be a witness to that is amazing. And again, I don't have any other word than gift for it, because it really, really was and is to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. A masterful soul. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that was my gift as well. Mum dying when I'm young, but watching her go through illness and watching her go through the illness and questions it sparked in me, like, why do people get sick? Why are people so unhappy? Yeah, a gift. I see it as a gift. People say, what a tragedy. Your mother died when you were young. Not a tragedy. Not a tragedy. So moving it, like you started, how old were you when you asked them to turn it off? What was happening that made you want to say, stop, I want to be normal?
Yeah. So, I didn't really want to be normal until I got into probably the awkward teenage years, and whoever feels normal then, right? But I had a succession of, you mentioned in the intro, I'd had a succession of those disturbing kind of dreams, where maybe it would be someone at school who was going to have a car accident, and then the next week or month that would actually happen. I remember, I think I was 13 or 14-ish, around that age, when I had this absolutely vivid, crisp, sharp, terribly horrifying. Talk about horrifying. I think maybe that's why I was offended when shows would do it, because I'm like, if you think that's bad, you have the actual dream where it is horrifying, and I'll show you. But I had that horrifying dream of a plane crash in rural Scotland, and in the dream I could see like the thatched roofs, which for me was weird because it was a plane, but that was not the time period where the plane would really be anything in existence, because it looked like 1500s or something. Thatched roofs, saw the layout of the village and the plane crashing and fire and horrible things. And the next day, Pan Am Flight 103 crashed in Lockerbie, Scotland. And so I woke up to that on the news, or saw that on the news that day, and it was the modern version of the same exact angle of the plane and the fuselage and all the things. And I thought, okay, I understand that I'm tapped into some field of information or have been given this, but to me it felt like, what am I supposed to do about that? I couldn't have called somebody. Like, why do I need to witness it if there's not a purpose for it? And not to mention feeling terribly disturbed by the imagery. So I kind of said, you know what, this has been fun. It's been a great ride, but can I go do human stuff now? Can I just, it's awkward enough to be a teenager. Can I just go do that? And so I started listening less. I'm sure the guidance was still there, but I started paying attention less and less and less. And then it got softer, dimmer, quieter. And then I just wasn't really connected in that way anymore for a period of time. But it was the disturbing dreams that got it.
Yeah. 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 How long were you feeling disconnected? How many years?
I'm stubborn, Karen. So I probably went a good 6 or 7, if not a full-on decade. Like, I tried to full send it and ignore it as best I could. La 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 la, right? And then it just didn't work well for me in a lot of ways.
And what was happening during that time that was really trying to get your attention?
All of the things in life, so this is what we really wanted to dig into today, right? All of the things in life that tell you, hey, this isn't your path. Hey, quit screwing up. Hey, look over here. It's that redirect of you're on the wrong path. So you mentioned part of the whole list. And I was in my early 20s. I had just moved into an apartment. It was my first apartment on my own, and it got robbed. Then I had car accident. When I say car accident after car accident, I mean I had lost count of how many car accidents I was in a period of maybe 2 years. It was just all of the things that say you're disconnected from being embodied. It's like I just was so fractured. One of the car accidents resulted in, even though there were no ambulances or first responders called at the scene, the individual I rear-ended ended up suing me. And because in my state, because the amount of damages he was asking for was such a high dollar, that required a jury trial. So I think I was the ripe old age of 23, sat in a jury trial where my lawyer had never tried a case before. And so he was asking me, should we put this person on the jury? Should we put that person on the jury? And it was just this weird out-of-body experience of where am I and how is this my life right now? And add to that the normal stuff you go through in your 20s with relationships and friendships and jobs and all, like, it felt like the wheels were coming off and just everything felt chaotic. And I just want to say too, we all go through that. I'm not special. We all have challenges. Some people have way more than that. But for me, it was this relentless, constant, hey, this isn't it. Hey, this isn't it. Hey, this isn't it. That I finally realized, what am I doing that is so wrong in all of this? Who am I? It's like I was trying to wear someone else's outfit and it just didn't fit. The sleeves weren't working and it was too tight and I couldn't breathe. And when I finally realized, oh yeah, I left my team. I told them to stop talking to me. Not that they would have been like, hey, turn left instead of right and you'll avoid that car accident. But it just felt like,
yeah, you would have listened.
I'm trying to
Leslie's saying here there's a big disparity between the two of us. I've actually turned down my microphone, but she said that your microphone needs to be turned up, that she can hardly hear you. Yeah, so if you can turn up your volume, you can turn it up on your computer or on the settings, on the StreamYard settings. Thank you, Leslie, for letting me know about that. I've turned down, as I said, I've turned down my mic a little bit, so hopefully I'm not like screaming over the top of
sorry
over the top of Heather. But
everybody.
you talk about accident. I remember when I was in my 20s, I was following my soul plan a bit. I kept asking. I kept going to psychics saying, why am I here? Why am I here? I knew I was here to make a difference, but I didn't know exactly how that looked. But I didn't understand that it would involve developing my psychic abilities. And I was studying naturopathy, and I was driving, I'm like 23. I was driving a little moped at the time. So cool. Thought it was so cool. And I was over at my boyfriend's house, and it was a cold night. And I said to him, can I take your car home? I'll bring it back in the morning for you. I just don't feel like being on the bike tonight. It's too cold and wet out there. I just feel like being in a car. He said, sure. And I remember driving past the bike and looking at it and having this really, really, really strong message that I should have taken the bike home. And my desire to feel more comfortable was like, no, I don't want to be on the bike tonight. I want to be in a car, a nice warm car. And sure enough, the bike was stolen. And I remember thinking, I got to listen to that stuff that's going on, like.
Right.
I wouldn't say it was like, it was saying you're off your plan, but it was saying, listen to your gut, listen to those messages that you're getting, listen to that knowing. Don't listen to what you want as much as what you're feeling. Yeah, that was, and I remember saying to my guides, I'll listen. I promise I'll listen. They found the bike. It was like someone had stolen it and taken it they found it like a couple of hours out of, where I lived, but I got it back. But yeah, messages like that all the time. Yeah. So let's hear you. Are you louder?
Is that any better? There's a couple more things I can try. You guys let me know. I definitely want to make sure.
It's better because you're a bit closer.
I'll keep closer too.
Yeah.
If that helps.
Yeah. But I want to just remind people that you're listening to Accentuate the Positive, Awakening Consciousness with Karen Swain on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We're streaming on 107.7 and 105.3 FM out of New Orleans and another city, I think, too, on syndicated radio. We're also streaming on all the major platforms. Facebook, YouTube. I think we're on Twitch today too. The United UFO Paranormal Radio has a Twitch channel, so we're streaming on Twitch. I don't know if anyone's listening on Twitch. Leslie says big improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you. Yes, big improvement, Shirley says. Thanks, guys.
This is a first for Twitch for me, I think. I feel like that just took 10 years off of me, because isn't that a kind of a younger...
Twitch, look, as far as I know, I haven't done a lot on Twitch, but it was a gaming platform, but it's now a streaming platform, and there are a lot of shows on Twitch. I think I remember Jeff Reynolds from the Jeff Mara podcast telling me that he does stuff on Twitch, and there's quite a few platforms like that were initially gaming platforms, but people started streaming on them. And we're also streaming on Rumble. I don't see anyone in the messages on Rumble. Shirley, you're normally on Rumble. But yes, technology. So getting back to our soul's plan, you realize that when everything was going wrong, that maybe you should start listening. Then what happened?
Yeah. And maybe it was an act of desperation where I thought, well, clearly I'm not literally and metaphorically driving this car very well, meaning this human existence, because of all the car accidents. So maybe I do need some help. And can I, what was that show where you would say, can I phone a friend? Like, I need some assistance here. So I would say probably nothing happened at first. It wasn't like the clouds parted and the angels descended on high to assist me just because I had asked. I had to work for it. And one of the earliest memories I have of a confirmation of it, the abilities, the connection, the wiring, if you will, coming back online, was because I had been robbed in the one apartment. I was now living in a different place, same complex, but upstairs, and came home from work one day. And this was before we had cell phones really that we all carried, but the answering machine had the ability to tell you how many messages you had. And when I looked at the answering machine, it said 0. But the phone, if you picked it up, would do a series of concurrent beeps, like beep, 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 all together if you had a message. And when I picked up the phone to call somebody, it beeped at me. So I thought, I have a voicemail, as we did back then. Let me dial in that number and call. And I didn't get an answer when I called, but the outgoing message of the number that had called me that I now reverse or return called. In the States, we called it star 69 back in the day. Who remembers that? But I called that back, and it was just an outgoing message. Oh, I should say too, I'm getting ahead of myself. The message that was left, why I called the number back, was this very gravelly voice. Talk about, again, the horrifying sensationalism. This was it. It was this horrible whispering voice that just said, help me, over and over. And I thought, being I guess, naive lady in my early 20s, I thought, I imagine, like, it sounded terrible and it scared me, but I thought, what if it is some older gentleman who thought he called somebody who could help him? And it's not me. So let me call back and say, I don't know who you need, but you dialed the wrong number. So when I tried to call back, I got this outgoing message, which is a completely different voice. And all it said was Psalm 91:11. For he shall give his angels unto thee to guide you and keep you in all thy ways. And I thought, and this was like a really short period of time after I had asked my team to come back on. And now I get this weird message, which is how sometimes, as you know, we follow the trail, right? I got the thing that didn't seem quite right about the answering machine, and I followed that for really no good reason. And now I have this message back that says the thing about guides and angels looking after you. And I called back a lot, still thinking I could reach an actual person, and only ever got the outgoing message. The kicker is I would get friends to call and they wouldn't get any message. It was only when I called that message came through. So that was the first kind of weird thing that I'm like, okay, you're back and you're a little dramatic. Okay. And then I would just start with the basics. I had, in my early preteens and teens, I had a passion for reading anything about this kind of information because I wanted to understand why I was having visions and dreams and feeling things and hearing things and connecting to things in ways that I didn't think other people did. So I had read all these books on the subject. And so as soon as I got kind of the spark of a connection back, I remembered back into some of the things that I had read and learned and did what I teach people now to do, which is tuning into your body as a tool of wisdom and your clairsenses and expanding out into what you hear, see, sense, and know. I also asked my team to work with me in a dream state because I'm out of my own way in that. When I'm dreaming, logical mind isn't going to care. So they would send me very specific dreams with not necessarily angel numbers, but repetitive numbers or very specific scenes. So with the numbers, I would have this feeling that, hey, you need to pay attention to this. It would just feel different from a normal dream. So I would wake up, write it in my dream journal. Inevitably, at some point during that day, that same number sequence, and it wouldn't be like a 222, it would be like 4371. I would go to the store and that would be on my receipt, or I would see a taxi cab with that number, or the number would show up somewhere the next day. So it was kind of this funny that I just get the humor now. Funny, I was going to say it's like a mic check when you say, is this thing on? That was my team and I, which we just did. We were working it out, how we connect with each other. Another dream was I had this really weird random dream about, it's going to sound bad, a dead baby bird in the middle of a sidewalk. And I thought, why do I want to see that? The next day, I got lost going somewhere, walking somewhere, turned the corner, same thing, dead baby bird in the middle of the sidewalk that I had seen in my dream. So we started mapping out how it would feel, how their communication was different from just regular old human communication, and built upon that and built upon that. And then I as you do, corralled my friends to say, hey, this is, back online for me. Some of them knew me from before, but then I would start doing tarot readings with people, or I would even just have friends call up and say, hey, what do your peeps say about this certain situation? So I would start doing readings of a sort, consultations, I don't know, casual things. And it seemed like that information was valid or helpful for whatever they were seeking, and just kind of built my confidence up from there in that way.
Yeah. The passion, that's the key. The passion. Like you can be passionate about sport or dancing or art or homewares or fashion. You can be passionate food. You can be passionate about that stuff. But if you're binge watching podcasts on spirituality or reading every book you can get your hand on, that's a sign. There's your sign. When
It's
I was
this
young, go on.
magnet, right? That like just pulls you and you can't get enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that you can't have, a few passions. But if you're going to meetings, when I was young, I was binge, before the internet, I was binge reading all these books. But I couldn't see, I was working in the film industry, cooking for people, not knowing that wasn't my, vocation, but it was a way to make money in the film industry. It was fun. But I couldn't see how spirituality could become any form of job, of paid work. Like I just couldn't see it. And I didn't think of myself as psychic in any way in those days. So, so the signs of, things being stolen when you had a hunch, like listening when you know something and you don't follow it, like that's the universe speaking loudly, like listen, develop your psychic ability. Yeah.
Yes. And the I don't know if it's the opposite of that, but the synchronicities where if you do have a passion with something and you keep seeing it everywhere you look, or you keep randomly someone, a stranger will mention the one thing, like let's say I'm passionate about making dog food and I go somewhere that isn't a pet store, it's completely random, and somebody says, hey, I really wish I could find somebody who could make some dog food. Like it echoes back at you. That's your sign that, hey, you're on the right track with something. Follow that spark of excitement, whatever lights you up. And you're right. We didn't really have the examples of this being any kind of profession or job or thing that you did in the world. Yeah, exactly.
And the only examples that you had of energy healer, spiritual mentor, or even a spiritual podcast, with people like priests or people in some sort of religion that were like spiritual mentors or guides, giving guide or, doing psychology or counseling, the mainstream. But you do a psychology, university degree in psychology or counseling, it's not teaching you to listen to your spirit guides. It's not teaching you how to teach other people to listen to their spirit guides. Yeah.
Right. In fact, it may pathologize it and give it a diagnosis and say this is not normal. This is
schizophrenic.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. What was I going to say? There was something I was on my journey. So with the shows, because I've been speaking to people for about 20, 25 years, listening to people's awakening journeys, how they woke up. So many people get a diagnosis, like they're sick, chronic fatigue, some sort of rash, some sort of chronic illness, migraine, headaches, but some chronic illness that is an indication that you might be following a passion, but you're not following your soul plan. You might be doing something that you love, but you're here to do something else. And it's a part of your interest, like you're into it. But that indication is that illness. Like even in The Ghost Whisperer, it turns out that her mother, who was very critical of her psychic abilities, had suffered from migraines her whole life because she thought that she didn't like it. Her mother was like, had the gift, according to the show.
Yeah.
And then I think her name is Melinda, the character in the show, says it skips the generation, but turns out in one of the shows that the mother had the gift but didn't listen to it, and so she suffered migraines her whole life. Did any sort of sign happen like that for you, like any pain or?
Not as far as a prolonged kind of illness or disease, but one of the car accidents, I got broadsided and hit my head on the driver's side window and got a concussion. And maybe insert joke here, I suppose, but it amplified my ability to hear my team. And I've heard that from some other healers and psychics as well, that it's like this jolt almost needs to occur. They may have an accident or, like you said, an illness or something that rewires their body. So I'm interested in what you think about, like, other than being a sign that you're not on your path. I think sometimes it is our body's just the energetic mechanism of how we are bringing intuitive information through, that it's almost like something needs to be suppressed in order for something else to rise, or something needs to be tweaked or adjusted in order for us to hear. It's like you have to turn down the volume on one thing in order to turn it up somewhere else.
Yeah.
And if we don't consciously make the decision to do that, maybe our higher self or our guides or life, the universe, spirit in general, something comes along to kind of try that for us and say, oh, did you try it this way instead? And then follow the steps from there. If that's just, a path that you can choose to take or not. But I feel too, I've observed with people and coached people that if you and again, whatever the passion is, it may not be psychic or spirituality or anything, but if you turn that down the first time, it can get louder and louder and louder. And maybe in a way that is not as preferred or happy or nice as it was the first few times. So there can be a cost, I think, to our hearts and our souls for swiping away our passions. Not that there's ever a time where it's too late to tap back into that and follow it, because every journey and every lesson along the way is something that serves that ultimately as part of our soul's plan. But I think there can be that amplification, or that, like in my case, it feels like I just spiraled. I said, I'm not comfortable being this person because, like, I remember going to school as a kid and just saying, like, hey, John, I dreamed that you were going to try to cheat on this test and the teacher caught you, so you probably shouldn't do it. Nobody wanted to hear that. I would have people say, please don't dream about me. Like, it creeped people out. And I understand it now. But as a kid, I was like, well, but what else am I supposed to do with it? Like, why did I see it if I wasn't supposed to tell you about it? So I didn't want to be the awkward girl anymore. I kind of still was, just in different ways. But that's part of why I thought, well, I don't want to do this. It's too weird. It's too hard. I stand out. It's hard to talk about. There's no language around it or whatever. And I think in a lot of cases with any of our passions, we may keep saying, nah, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll put it off after I do this training, or if I find a group of people who also do it and there's maybe safety in numbers, then I'll do it. But part of amplifying and stepping into and embodying and integrating your gift is sometimes that I can't say no to it anymore, because then I'm saying no to me. And you just have to go for it. As uncomfortable as it is, there's almost a point where it becomes more uncomfortable not to do it, and you just can't tolerate yourself anymore in that way, than to take the chance and take the risk and do the thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was saying to you before we went live, I have a friend who follows her passion, and she did what she loved as a business, and she was making lots of money. But for the last 10, 20 years, she's been complaining about, this isn't what I want to do. I want to follow another passion. And so she stopped working to follow another passion, a creative outlet that she had. But she said even that felt wrong. And so everything in her life now is feeling wrong, and she's getting migraine headaches. And to me, that is like big signs that there's something else there for her to do and something to develop. I mean, you were talking about being hit on the head and having your psychic abilities expand. I think a lot of people, especially people, star seeds, wanderers, the volunteers, light workers, whatever you want to call people who are here to awaken and expand consciousness on the planet, go through these DNA upgrades. And there's the sort of the flu. For me, it happened with a couple of flus where you're just taken out like for a week and you just can't move. And your body detoxes and everything is readjusted and you're just taken out like you just can't get out of bed. And, you know, this is long before the C word, like when we called it the C word. And then afterwards, your psychic abilities are stronger, like everything's
Yes.
stronger. Did that happen to you? Did you ever have that detoxing flu?
I hadn't connected those particular dots in that way, but I used to have horrible muscle spasms in my back where it was, as you said, that's it for the week. You're down for the count. You can't do anything.
Down for the count.
Have a muscle relaxer, watch something on TV, but that's all you'll be doing because you literally cannot move your body. And so, yeah, the body goes into that beautiful rest and digest and recover and blossoms this new way of being. So, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. I remember once when I was in my 40s having one of those flus, and I felt so sick. I was in so much pain, just that ache all over my body, like aching. I was saying to my husband, please kill me now. And I was serious. I was like, oh, kill me. The only thing I could, like, I would sit in the bath. We had a shower over the bath and just sit under the water, just trying to find some relief from my body aching. And I had my guides on tap in those days, and I'm like, what's happening? And they didn't give me any clues. They're just saying, just be still, be over soon. It'll be over soon. That's all I was getting. And I'm like, I don't want it to be over soon. I want it to be over now. Now.
Yesterday.
And I would pray yesterday. I think it was like 2 or 3 days I was out for the count. And I would pray every time and I just slept the whole time. When I wake up, I'm going to feel better. And I'd wake up and I didn't feel better. And I'd wake up, I didn't feel better. And I'd wake up and I'm like, oh, kill me now. And then I went to sleep and woke up. It was like everything, all the symptoms had disappeared. Bang, just finished. And I'm like, whoa, it was amazing. It was horrible, but it was amazing. But all I got from my guidance was just be still. It'll be over soon. So some serious upgrading was happening.
Yeah. So do you think this same technique or path can apply collectively to all of us? That perhaps
I do.
In this period of time, I mean, we have the category of ascension symptoms. I hear people talk about that all the time.
Ascension
Even beyond
symptoms, right?
physical symptoms, if we look at the world around us, is this the be still, let it blossom, let it unfold flu? Like a big cosmic kind of muscle spasm where it's just like you just have to sit with it right now.
Be still.
And it will pass. And it not just will pass, but it will upgrade and it'll be more magnificent than you can even imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got it right on. We're going through a global detoxing. Because listen, I mean, look at what is the flu as a symptom. Your body is like your nose runs, you cough, vomiting, diarrhea. Your body is eliminating. It's eliminating what it no longer needs to run as a healthy, functional structure. And I think that, you've got it right on, Heather, that we're doing that. We're eliminating what we no longer need as a human race. We're going through the ascension symptom globally. What is, we can learn so much from our suffering. We can. What does it say here? Yes, it is not preferred method, not the preferred method. My preferred, the preferred method, exactly. The preferred method would be to listen to what's happening to you and to be still, to go within and to listen to your guides, to start listening to your inner voice rather than that voice that's always wanting to get ahead, to achieve, to be seen, to be appreciated, to earn more money, to be in love. Yeah, listen
to avoid
the other
pain, to dodge,
to avoid pain.
Yeah. Or sometimes to not be seen, to not shine so brightly. I see a lot of people right now who are at that crux of, I think I'm supposed to lead now, but I don't know what that means. And there's this almost discomfort with their own light that they shine, because we've been programmed in a lot of ways to say, don't be too much. Don't step too out of line. Don't show up in too big of a way for whatever reason. And so there's this dynamic of, it's not even full throttle fear. For some people it might be, but it's this hesitation and this uncertainty. And I think the assumption that what I hear a lot too is, what's my purpose? Like we're going to see it in a fortune cookie. It's going to be one sentence. That's it. You dial it in and you go. Your purpose is always to be you, the most authentic version of you that you can be. And that's going to twist and shape and morph based on any number of variables as you go through life. But it's in that uncovering of, okay, who am I now in this moment? Okay, who am I now? That's the purpose, and all the passions come with it. When you're, I think, aligned on that path, then you get the beautiful opportunities that, like for me, you mentioned your friend doing art. I did art as a kid and I was really into it and thought it was fun. And a few years ago, I thought I'd really love to do art again if I could do it in a way that helps somebody. Like, I don't want to just do it to do it. I wasn't really a craft person. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just didn't have the patience for it. And just put that kind of call out, I guess, to the universe without any definition of what that might look like. And eventually it developed into my guide sending me some prompts and things to do what I now call energetic signature portraits, which is channeled art that is kind of like a soul imprint of people.
Nice.
And I didn't, I'm sure others do it as well. I didn't know that it existed. I certainly didn't know I could do it, and I didn't even know what it was when I was doing it. I would just doodle these weird geometric shapes with colors and think that it matched a friend. Like, I think this is you, and I would send it. My friends are the most tolerant people ever because they're always getting weird things from me. But I would get these downloads, put it in a digital art application, and send, like, I would get maybe 3 or 4. In my mind, I feel like this is the energy of Caroline, or I feel like this is the energy of Jenna. And I would send it out, and they would be able to recognize themselves and one another without me saying, this one is Caroline, this one is Jenna. So there was some kind of inner knowing or recognition of the energy of a soul in those. And I never sat down and planned to do that. It never would have occurred to me in my wildest dreams. And now I've done thousands of them for people all over the world. And it's the most amazing thing. But when we follow our passion, there's also that aspect of surrendering the need to know the exact how. Like, you can have the GPS and you can go for that spot on the map, but you might get rerouted along the way. There might be a traffic jam, there might be an accident, and you got to allow for that as part of your path. And I think when we can surrender into that, the most magical, amazing things can show up for us in ways that we wouldn't have imagined. So releasing that expectation, that's a hard thing to do for us though, because we like to have the answers. We like to have the plan. We like to have the control. Understandably, that's how we feel safe and secure. But I think it's in letting that unravel in whatever way you can that allows opportunities to start popping up, and all those synchronicities just become deafening to where you can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Deepak Chopra calls it synchro destiny, where there's just, synchro destiny. My life is just one huge synchronicity, like even this conversation today and the conversation I had with a girlfriend on the phone last night and the other conversation, it's just all dovetailing into this conversation today. There's just this constant synchronicity, like this stream of, you dip your toe into the river of life and it just takes you. There's just from one step to the next. It's a beautiful way to live, actually. Synchro destiny. Yeah,
it is. It's like a dance.
Let it take you to where you want to go. Dip your toe into the stream of pure positive energy and let it take you to where you want to go. So you said that you were aware of your guides when you were young, but didn't understand it. Asked them to go away. Then a whole lot of stuff was happening. So you thought to yourself, hang on, maybe I should turn it all back on again. How did it look when you turned it all back on? Did it come on like a bang? Did you start having precognitive dreams again and hearing people's thoughts? And like, what did that look like? How did your spirit guides reintroduce themselves to you?
It was primarily through the dreams and the numbers were a big thing for me as well. I forgot to add on to the 9111, Psalm 9111. After I got that incident with the phone call, I would then be able to go out into, not trying to, but I would go into a bookstore or a library, and I could pick up any book on any weird topic, and either it would flip open to page 91 or page 11, or like the table reference would be chart 91.11. 9111 was everywhere, all around me. Couldn't turn it off. So that was like the blinking, we're open for business neon sign that was everywhere. There was even one time I was driving down a road and saw a book open, spine open in the middle of the road, like some kid had thrown it out or something. And by that time, it had happened so often that I just always saw 9111. It was like a party trick. I could say, hey, open that book. It'll be there. And I was driving and there was no one else on the road. And I thought, I know if I pull over, that book is going to show me 9111. And it did, just randomly in the middle of a road. So then I got to be like, okay, I get it. You've turned it on too much. And I, again, was able to get those dreams, this time visions about friends and people. And at this stage in my life now, going into my mid-20s, late 20s, I had the right friend group around where I could say, hey, this is a dream that I had about you. I remember a girlfriend one time, I had dreamed that she was basically being followed by a guy in a white car and that there was some element of danger involved. And, I told her about it. And a few days later, she called me and from her car and said, there's a white car following me and the guy feels really sketchy. What do I do now? And I said, well, I didn't have the end of the dream. Like I just had the warning part. So I don't know, go to a police station or something. I'm not sure. But it was getting that validated back as well through others, because I think, especially working with intuition and telepathy, we can doubt ourselves really easily. Like, did I hear that because I wanted to hear that? Or did I hear that because that was actually there? So for me, having it reflected back with friends was really helpful in that development. But it did kind of have the feeling of almost coming on too much again, where I didn't know what to do with it in a sense. And then I just kind of incorporated in, kind of like when you fill up the tub too full and you've got to let the water settle down a little bit. I needed to just acclimate and bring it on board in a way that felt purposeful and natural for me, rather than kind of flailing around with it like, don't drive at night, it's going to be scary. Like I needed to bring me to the gift and the gift to me in that way and weave them together. And I was incredibly blessed and lucky to be able to do that with a beautiful network of people around me. So, but it was kind of it wasn't there, almost this feeling of fumbling for your purse or your car keys. Like, where did I leave you? Oh, okay. There you all are. And here I primarily am clairaudient and clairvoyant, I think. So then hearing their voices and being able to then distinguish that there were different energies and being able to kind of say, I don't know who you are, but I can tell one from the other and kind of echolocate where they are. And now when I work with other people, I have developed a system where I appoint my team. Like you'll often see me looking over here if I'm connecting with my guides, because I'm kind of like, you line up over there. I need to know where you are and who's speaking and all of that. So we have kind of this organization system that I've developed in the way that I work with it. But yeah, I don't think, number one, I don't want to turn it off again. And number two, I don't know that, it didn't work out so well for me the first time. So it's on. And do you find that the way that you communicate still changes and develops and zigs and zags at different times for you? Or is it kind of steady and has always been the same?
No, it's not always the same. There's just so many components of being human, ways in which, and I listen to all of it. There's not like, I don't put myself in a box and say, I see or I hear or I feel or I know.
Yeah.
Because messages come in the form of dreams. They come in the form of billboards on the side of the road. I went to an energy healing a few years ago, quite a few years ago now. I don't know, about 5, 6, 7, I don't know. There was some energy healers, the association. We all went together and had a dinner, and the conversations we were having was reflected in every sign I saw driving home. And I was just laughing at the way spirit was getting my attention to look at the sign. Do you know what I mean? It's not like the sign is created for you. The sign's there, but whether you see it or not, that's the thing, whether you see the sign. So you're driving and then you're looking at a sign, like you're guided to look, and the message on the sign directly related to the conversation I was having at dinner. And it was so funny. Like there is just communication happening to us everywhere, all around us. So so we just have to be aware, like expand our awareness, and just that expansion of aware. How do you feel? For a lot of psychics and people that I teach to, and it probably happens to you and your clients as well, Heather, you know, when we feel out of alignment or sick or something as empaths, wherever we are, it can be that we're picking up the energy of others. It's not necessarily that we're sick. So again, asking yourself, what is it that I'm feeling? And it might be the person next to you is depressed, or the person next to you has pain in this area that you're feeling it in your body. The person next to you feels like you might have indigestion. The person next to you is feeling really like lack of confidence, and it's affecting their digestion. And so I think that we're feeling stuff all the time, but we're not asking, you know, what is it that I'm feeling as energy healers? We're sort of making it like us. Oh, I need to fix myself. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
I like to try to remember, I won't say I always do, but as soon as there is some kind of feeling, like you're saying, in the body, is it mine?
Is it
and
mine?
if I get a no, then it kind of dissipates, and like, okay, I don't need to know it. I always joke with my guides, I want to be on a need to know basis. Like, I don't need to know absolutely everything going on everywhere. If it's pertinent and relevant, cool, bring it. But yeah, we have to fine tune that sometimes, because we are in this beautiful sacred dance of connection with everything around us. And, but if it's not your backache, don't bring it home. You know, it could have been the person in line at the grocery store.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I had a girlfriend, she's since passed. She was born, you know, under the thalidomide, the drug thalidomide, and she was very sick most of her life. But she'd had this sore knee, apart from the multiple medical problems that she had. She had this sore knee. And I was practicing massage and Reiki at the time. And I remember doing some Reiki on her knee. And she said, the pain has completely gone. And she walked out of my house and left me with the pain in my knee. And I'm like, dang. Like, I was only in my 20s then. So it wasn't like it was because I had, you know, sore knees. I just remember thinking, I totally took that on. Again, a sign. Don't do that. Like, I remember making it, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take on people's pain.
Yeah. I had that just the other day. I will sometimes, like, in advance of meeting with a client, feel something, but I forget that happens to me. And so I was just talking to someone a couple of days ago, and we were going through her energy system, and I said, what's going on with your right knee? And she explained, it's always been a problem for me. I don't remember if she had a tendon tear or something. And then it occurred to me, and I even said it, that was your knee about 20 minutes ago. Thank you. It wasn't even mine, because I was going to worry, but I just kind of, and that's the thing too, we're not non-local, so like time and distance and none of that even matters. I joked that it could be the backache at the grocery store from someone, but it could be someone you're having a conversation with worlds apart as well. So yeah,
I was thinking that watching I keep coming back to the Ghost Whisperer, because again, synchronicity. So I'm tuning into this show, we're having this conversation, and I was thinking I remember making a decision when my psychic abilities started expanding, that I did not want to be the sort of person that walked around seeing ghosts or being aware of ghosts. The girlfriend of mine was saying, we went up to an old hotel. She said that the first time she visited the toilet, she was inundated with all the ghosts that were in the old hotel. And I remember thinking, like, that is something that I've made a rule. Like, I don't want that. I want to be able to cruise around in life and not be interfered, not have dead people or, like energies coming up, people asking for help. And so that doesn't happen to me. So when I'm out and about, I am not aware of ghosts in houses and things like that, which is something that I've put into my plan, right? It's not a part of my plan, but for others, it is a part of their plan if that's there. What about you when you're out and about in public? What are you feeling? What have you said? I don't want to feel. I do want to feel. I want to be aware of this. I don't want to be aware of that.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I had to negotiate as well. So when I was a little girl, not infrequently when I would be just in that pass through to falling asleep, spirit would kind of swarm me. And I remember saying like, the people. And it wasn't scary, but what am I going to do? I'm like 5. I'm a 5-year-old kid. And it was this need of them wanting to say something or come through in some way. Again, it wasn't menacing or scary, but it was overwhelming. And so I remember saying, I don't think I'm okay with that. I don't like that because I don't know what to do with it. So I have set some boundaries as well. And I have kind of an on and off switch, which for me feels really healthy in doing the work, because there have been times where I didn't have that in place and would feel depleted and not understand why. Why is it that I have nothing left at the end of the day for my own energy or for my own thoughts? And it's because I had been out in a crowd and picked up absolutely everything, or heard everything, or felt everything. I remember one time I was in line at a store somewhere, and a little girl, maybe 2 or 3-year-old girl, was having a little tantrum, and her dad said something to her that was just really sharp and harsh. And I'm just like in the line over witnessing it, but I started crying because I felt the little girl feeling so like checked by her dad. And I thought, I can't go, it's not mine. Like I got to put a little boundary here, because I was just devastated for her having witnessed that. So I think it's, like you said, it's to each individual's health and ability and preference and what they like. But if I'm out and about, typically I am not on unless I feel there's a need to be. And my team knows there can be kind of overrides to that if it's something urgent, something important, something particularly with a loved one or a friend that is absolutely a need to know, that will come through. The other things that often make it through, you said road signs. I had forgotten that I get billboards a lot as well. Songs for me are huge, but they won't just come to me. They will come through a friend. So I'll get a message, like a text message from a friend who said, yeah, one of your songs just came on, because I have a certain set that mean different things for me. So they will sometimes go to a friend, and then the message from the friend is the sign, kind of a little bit of a cheat, I think, with my team. But, things where they're kind of joshing or joking around with me, that will come through. But other people, for me, I like the ethical boundary of, if you didn't ask me to know something about you, I'm not going to scan you or
Exactly.
I don't want to accidentally connect to you or anything like that.
Exactly. Me too. Exactly. Once you have an intention to be of service to that person, and like everything opens. But if you're just having a chat and a cup of tea and a nice day and how you going, like closed, if things are closed. And then you tell people you're psychic and they say, can you read me? And it's like, well, now I need to open. But what does the apocryphal world records say here? What's your name? Tell me what your name is, because it's hard to say apocryphal world records. I recently had a dream where I entered a psychedelic experience. In waking life, it was very difficult to surrender to the experience. But in the dream, I surrendered. And at one point, a voice commanded to me to go deeper, and I felt renewed. That's beautiful.
It's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So you were listening. Yeah, you were
and
listening.
Feeling into it, right? It feels like it bypassed that circuitry of the logical human being and went into like a doing, or I'm going to experience this in that way.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I'm loving this conversation, Heather, because I think that people don't, they're afraid, they're frightened of their psychic abilities, their connection, although many people say, I want to meet my spirit guides. I think that a lot of people are frightened to opening to really having that connection to their, what they call spirit guides. And we come at it from a human perspective, as if the spirit guide has human faces, or their grandma, or dead friends, or and it can be a stream of consciousness. It can be galactic consciousness. What about you with the galactics? Is the galactic consciousness a part of your soul team?
They are, and I would say they are now recently, but I think, I was one, I hear this a lot from people too. I was one as a kid who would sit outside at night and stare up at the stars and think, where are my people? But at that point in time, there wasn't a starseed kind of thing in the zeitgeist. It just wasn't. But I just felt this awareness or this connection to that. And but didn't really connect in with galactics for a very long time. And the good old year of 2020 changed that for me after I had made the call about I want to do art again, but I want to do it in a way that I connect with people and serve people and create things that help other people. I started having, speaking of the dream state, I started having different weird dreams where I would see beings who were very, 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 very tall and bright and light, humanoid-ish maybe, but I couldn't really see. They felt far away. They didn't feel like the guides that I knew. And I would just have these experiences of being in a space with these individuals. And it happened night after night after night. And I remember one morning I woke up around 4 o'clock in the morning and went outside for no particular reason, but I had been asking every night, who are you? Tell me who you are. Who? And in my mind, when I'm saying the word who, I would picture a big question mark. So I go outside at like 4 in the morning and there's a little street light where I'm able to see things in the driveway. And in the middle of my driveway, a tree branch had fallen, like a couple of them, I guess, in the shape of a question mark about this big with an acorn as the point of the question mark.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, okay, that's new. And I went inside to get my phone to snap a picture. And when I took the picture, there were like 5 blue orbs showing up in the picture around.
Love
so
it.
I was like, okay, there's some new people here, new members of the team, if you will.
were they new, or was the newness your awareness of them?
Exactly.
Yeah. Because they were always there, but you weren't aware of them. Yeah.
Exactly. Or I wasn't at the frequency that they preferred to
Right.
communicate
You weren't
on,
at the
so-
frequency. Exactly. There's a great question here from Apocryphal World Records. Again, I want you to tell me your name.
Tell us, we need to know.
There's a claim that mental illness is greater than ever before. Would you attribute that to an increase in sensitivity in human connectivity? Great question.
That is a great question. Yeah.
What do you think,
Do you want to
Heather?
take it? I think I would absolutely say there's a correlation to that. We have a heightened sensitivity, and without the programs, the support, the conversations, the normalcy of what that means.
Yeah.
So if someone is experiencing, I'm in a room of people who are sad and all of a sudden I'm sad, that can be labeled or feel like mental illness. Why are you depressed all the time? Well, maybe you're swimming in a sea of other people's emotions, but nobody's really taught you what that feels like and how to distinguish between yours and someone else's.
Yes.
So I don't think every time that's the case, but I think that is, we have that lack of awareness, or it's not as common in our vernacular to say, you're just empathic, you're highly sensitive, you're experiencing the world in this upticked way that maybe a lot of other people don't. And so they're going to call it something and pathologize it again. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually given, because Heather and I were chatting before we went live about, do you get, messages about what's going to happen in the future? And Heather asked me, one of the messages I did get, because I had a woman on the show last year called Ann Tucker, who's channeling the angels, and Anne, and it's very, predictive.
Yeah.
So I was chatting to my mob, about some of the things that she said. She talked about the flash, the light, and I'm like, show me how that works. What are humans going to experience? And this is what they said. They actually said exactly what Apocryphal World Records, I'm going to give you a nickname, AWR says, that the empathy of the human race will greatly expand during that time. And yes, there will be what has been labeled more mental illness, because people will not know how to handle it. Empaths and starseeds and light workers complain about being too sensitive, feeling everybody's pain and suffering because of that. So teachers like you and I and many other thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of teachers that are on the planet, to help people navigate their expanded consciousness abilities, or spiritual abilities, or psychic abilities, or empathic abilities, like how you handle that flash will will greatly change the world in that respect. And I thought, wow. And they said many people will just come online and get it, but there will be a lot of people suffering as they navigate this new sensitivity. And, they'll feel like they're going mad. Yeah, mental illness.
Yeah.
There's lots of people. A girlfriend of mine was put in before she eventually killed herself, but she was put into some institutions where people who were mentally ill go. And when she was very psychic, she was somebody that did not follow her soul plan.
Yeah.
And at 36, she ended up killing herself because of the depression that she was suffering from. But when she was put in, because she was very psychic, we used to go to psychic and channels and teachers, and they all said to her, you can do what I do. And she's like, not interested, not interested, not interested. She just like, no, I want to talk about fashion and parties and, I want to follow that instead of being psychic and helping people. But she was put into a facility, and she said everyone in there was so amazing, but they were considered insane and mentally ill, but they were so psychic and amazing, but they just didn't know how to navigate it. So great question.
Well, imagine if you just like woke up one day and you grew a second nose. Like, how odd would that be to be like, well, now I smell twice as much, or I smell
twice as much.
Like, it's having a new sense just automatically there with
stronger
no
sense,
frame of reference to what it really means. Yeah.
Susan says,
mind.
having a second nose, I love it. Susan says here, my guides went galactic in very late 2022. They come into my healing sessions when needed. Much love. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people, when they wake up to their their soul path or spiritual journey, will feel the guidance of, Jesus or Mother Mary or Kuan Yin. Like, they'll give them names like that, or God or spirit or higher self or soul. And then as they expand their abilities, they start realizing that there are other energies talking to them that might come from different places in the universe, like Susan says, went galactic. But they were always there.
That turn of phrase.
Yeah, my guides went galactic. They were always there, that just we weren't aware of them. But many of these personalities that we call ascended masters are galactic, like Jesus was an alien. He came from another dimension, another planet.
Yeah, it's that elevated frequency and how they can navigate in. Yep.
Yeah. So what else about your galactic guides? What did they give you? Some sort of identity? You saw the blue beings? Did they say?
Yeah, I saw the blue beings, and then I have another outdoor experience with it that's kind of fun, and then I can say where that kind of spun out into my services and offerings. But after the question mark incident, we'll call it, a few days later, the dogs got me up to go out early again, and there are street lights near me, but I noticed far in the distance again, this was like between 4 and 5, right before dawn, where light isn't really reliable in the world yet. But I saw this, I haven't told this, I don't think, anywhere before, but saw this blue orb far away. Wasn't a ship, wasn't moving. I mean, wasn't a plane, wasn't moving, wasn't a street light, was too high and too big. And it would kind of grow or swing, almost like swing in and swing back and swing in and swing back. And I remember, because I'm like half awake, I remember thinking, is that what I think it is? Like, I was okay with it, but is that a UFO? Is that what I think it is? And all of a sudden it just kind of went and just retracted into nothing. A couple minutes later, and this was Leap Day 2020, February 28th. Couple minutes later, it started snowing only in my yard. Not in the neighbor's yard, not across the street, not in the property behind me, just in my yard. So I don't know what that was, but for me, it was fun, and I had a blast with it, and it felt a little playful and high frequency and all of that. But with the art that I do, that is primarily some of my galactic team. Yeah, absolutely channeled. And when I was trying to figure out what is it, like, kind of like, a kid in kindergarten when they make you the painting, and you're like, oh, that's lovely. What do you think it is? That was me being like, okay, what is this supposed to be? And it's funny you say, like, some people want to know, oh, my guide's name is Bob or Joseph or whatever. This, for me, the feeling I was given or guided to describe this kind of art is that this representation of us, and it's not just mine, other people do it as well, geometry and color and shape and vibration and frequency, that's us. That's the new hello, my name is Heather name tag.
Yeah, exactly.
And we will know each other from that, not from our names and our identifiers.
Yeah.
So it's helping to calibrate people. And I get beautiful feedback where somebody will put it on like their screensaver of the phone and say, when I have just a crappy day and the world has taken it out of me, I look at that and I remember who I am.
Yeah.
And so they're connecting back
Beautiful.
in some kind of pure essence of soul seed of
To
what
the
they
original
are.
blueprint, to the original, divine blueprint. Yeah, beautiful.
And I think that's part of our way forward is knowing one another. Like that's a struggle in the world right now too. How do you identify? What's your position? All this polarity that's unwinding, so that we can know how unlimited we are and what truly are you? What is like what sound are you? What color are you? What combination of all these other aspects of you can we experience and can you bring to the world? And that then opens up this really beautiful new way of knowing and supporting and connecting with each other.
Yeah, the divine design. Gorgeous. Yeah, you talked about that light. I've seen that a couple of times where the light from a ship bursts into the night sky. It's kind of like lightning, but it's not like lightning. And it sort of lights up everything for less than a second, like a nanosecond, and then and retracts back in. I've seen it. It's amazing.
That was the
it's
weird
amazing.
thing. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It's like taking a flashlight beam and going, and then it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a torch, and then it goes and then tracks back in. I was sitting on my couch one night just looking up. I thought I was looking at a star, and that star did exactly that. It just like burst, this big light burst, and I'm like, what? And then retract back. Oh, it was amazing. Just sitting on the couch looking out the window. I wondered if anyone, around me could see it, like in the or if that was just for me. Yeah,
like the billboards. Maybe it was there, and it was calling to your attention, and no one else.
Calling to your attention. Yeah, exactly. And the snowing in the yard. I remember when I was an energy healer. When I say I was doing more hands-on sort of Reiki type energy. I had a little room in front of my house. It was raining, and I walked outside with my client. And there was a hole in the clouds above my house, and the sun was streaming through on the house, and it was raining everywhere else, but not on my house. And I'm going, now that's a sign. Like, if that's not a sign that you're on the right path, I don't know what is. That was amazing.
I'll add a synchronicity to that for you, since this is the conversation for them. When I got my Reiki 1 attunement, it was worked with a practitioner. And went outside afterward, needed to ground, and beautiful, like huge rainbow just over me, over my house, over my space.
Nice.
Right after that, in that place where you're just so expanded and like, oh, this is what it's all about. It's all switched on. And then that beautiful reflection. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, we've got a couple of minutes to go. What message would you like to leave with people before we go?
Well,
about who they are.
Yeah, I was gonna say, number one, I'm sad that there's just a couple minutes to go. So that's my message. But beyond that, I think you said it really well earlier, or alluded to it. Follow that spark within you. What is it that you always put off? What is it that you keep swiping away? What is it that you feel I am too limited to do? What would happen if you just went for it? You just tried it. You take, kind of like when you're getting a kid to try something, a food that they don't like. What would happen if you just take the tiniest little bite? Maybe that then opens up something else, because I think too often we want to know the 42-step plan for something when really that next step is the important part because it opens up something else that you didn't have on your radar before. So following just that beautiful beckoning in your soul for what is next, what is truest to you. And for those who are called, which I think most listening here would be, to be of service to others. How can I connect in? How can I serve humanity at this time? How can I, little old me, sometimes what we think, right? How can little old me do anything for this big bad world? It's by finding that authentic spark of you, because we're all puzzle pieces. We're all supposed to be different. But if you're over here trying to be a corner and you're really supposed to be a middle puzzle piece, then the whole picture isn't going to work. So you've got to be who you're called to be so that the beautiful picture for all of us unfolds.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, that's really important. If you're confused about who you are and what you're here to do on earth. I remember when I was in my early 30s with a young baby and watching Oprah when I was at home, and she would always say, I would say to God, use me to serve humanity. Just use my life to serve humanity. She was into interviewing people in the media and television shows, and they used her passion to serve humanity in that way. The Conversation with God book said the same. There's only one of us in the room. You're in the room to heal the room. It's the only reason you're in the room. You think your life is all about you. It's not. It's about everyone you meet. It's that service. It's like we're all seeking for what passion that will fulfill me. Okay, you found your passion. How can you use that passion to help others? Whether it is art or singing or channeling or reading or energy healing or whatever it is, accountancy, like whatever it is.
Dancing, cooking,
dancing. Yeah. How is your life serving others? And serving others in remembering who they are too, as that extension of source energy, as that brilliance that you talk about, that spark of brilliance, infinite connection to source energy. Yeah, that mantra of Paul Selick, a beautiful channel I've had on the show a couple of times. His guides say the mantra is, I know who I am, I know what I am, I know how I serve, I am free, I am free, I am free. So making the statement of knowing rather than seeking. I know who I am. Yeah. I am an extension of source energy, having a physical life experience. I know what I am. I'm female. I'm male. I'm good at this. I'm this age. I'm that, like all the what's. And I know how I serve, making that. I know how I serve. I know what I'm here to do, rather than asking, what am I here to do? Saying, I know what I'm here to do. What's Diane saying here? I keep doodling, and when I post... and when I posted some on social media, I got so many likes and ideas of how to market them. Back to teaching toddlers soon, ran into my family and 3 children, 3 and under, bliss. Yeah. Thanks, Diane. You're Diane as a teacher.
Yeah, doodling, and then that connects into something like maybe you weren't even expecting it to be a thing, but somebody somewhere resonates with it. And it's those kind of clues where you follow that, and who knows where it can lead.
Yeah. Darling one, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a blessing. And people can find you at your website.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been such a joy.
Just remind people of your website.
Yeah, heathermays.com, M-A-Y-S for Mays. And you can jump into anything from there, all the different things I do. We didn't really talk about animal communication, but I do that as well.
We didn't get into the animal communication.
Channeling and mediumship and art and classes and all the things. So would love to connect with all of you if you feel called. And thanks for the opportunity to connect and kick around some ideas. It has been just such a joy. So thank you.
Yeah, and remember, Heather's got those books. So you've got those children's books and journals and colouring books. You've got it all going on. You've been really listening and following and actioning and following the path. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate it so much.
And remember, if you want to be a part of our Spirit Speaks show that we're doing maybe once or twice a week, where I'm having a medium. We've had Sandra Marie medium on speaking, getting a message from Spirit. Go to my website, karenswain.com, and send me an email saying that you want to be a part of it, and I'll send you out an email and a message when we have the next show, and you can receive a message from us from Spirit. Susan says, thanks everybody for tuning in. Susan says, thank you. Diane says, thank you. Great to see you all online. Shirley says, thank you. Fabulous show. Yeah, please come back again, Shirley says. Shirley wants you back again. Yeah, I will get Heather back again because we didn't chat about the animal communication. I love talking about animal communication. We've had quite a few people on the show talk about animals. You know, Kevin Briggs talking to the butterflies and the caterpillars and everything like that, having them land on him, and he taught his brother how to do that. I love that. That we can communicate with animals all the time. And you can communicate with your cat and your dog and the tree and the weather. There's lots of things that you can communicate with. Oh, I think we've run out of time. So big love to all of you. Contact me via the website if you want to know more, and I will catch you next time. Bye for now.
You got to accentuate the positive.